Why does it seem like the United States has had a long-standing and aggressive policy to prevent Iran, as well as other nations, from obtaining nuclear weapons? Is it to protect against regional or geopolitical concerns, or something else? Something the United States has been trying to keep secret for almost a century. Could the United States government be attempting to keep Iran from joining a select group of nations privy to the true nature of alien contact with humanity? A secret allegedly revealed to powers that have crossed the nuclear threshold. This theory predominantly focuses on the theory that aliens cohabitate this planet with us, although in a different dimension. And by using nuclear weapons, we affect their dimension as well. That simply by attaining nuclear weapons, our interdimensional neighbors will greet you and provide your country with a warning not to ever use them, providing knowledge that we are not alone in the universe, something the United States wants to prevent at all costs. Following the U.S. atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, there has been a reported surge in unidentified flying object sightings, commonly known as UFOs, particularly near nuclear facilities, suggesting extraterrestrial interest in human nuclear capabilities. In fact, a declassified FBI document from 1950 reports flying saucers nearly 50 feet in diameter near Los Alamos laboratories, a key site for the atomic bomb development. UFO activity was so frequent that employees were assigned to monitor it. A significant statistical uptick in UFO sightings commenced in the immediate aftermath of World War II, coinciding with the advent of the nuclear era. Project Blue Book, the U.S. Air Force's official study of UFOs, recorded a total of 12,618 sightings between 1947 and its termination in 1969. Of these, 701 still remain unidentified. The data shows a notable surge in reports starting in 1947, the year of the famed Roswell incident, and just 2 years after the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The year 1952, in particular, saw a dramatic spike with 1,501 reported sightings, a period rife with nuclear testing by both the US and the Soviet Union. There was also a statistical analysis in 2015 by French economists, which found a significant correlation between UFO sightings and atomic sites in France, reinforcing this pattern. Adding to this evidence, UFO researcher Robert Hastings has interviewed over 160 veterans who witnessed UFOs near nuclear sites. And investigative journalist George Knapp has documented similar incidents through Freedom of Information Act requests, suggesting a consistent pattern over decades. This temporal correlation suggests a potential link between humanity's newfound ability to manipulate atomic energy and an increased interest from non-human intelligence. The argument here is not merely that more people were looking up to the skies, but that there was a tangible increase in anomalous aerial phenomena observed and reported. And if that is true, it would certainly prompt the US to limit such capabilities in nations like Iran. Numerous credible reports from military personnel document UFO activity around nuclear missile silos, with some incidents allegedly resulting in the temporary deactivation of these strategic weapons. The most well documented of these is the Malmstrom Air Force Base incident in March 1967. Captain Robert Salas, a former USAF missile launch officer, has consistently testified that a glowing red object about 30 feet in diameter hovered over the base's missile launch control facility, after which 10 of his Minutemen nuclear missiles simultaneously became inoperable. In another sighting near RAF Woodbridge in the UK, U.S. Air Force personnel reported a metallic triangular craft with strange markings. Physical evidence, including ground indentations and broken branches, were documented, along with low levels of radiation. Retired USAF Colonel Charles Halt, deputy base commander, corroborated these observations. Another account in Robert Hastings' book, UFOs and Nukes, accounts one reported 1982 incident where missiles temporarily activated for launch while a large disk hovered over a base, only to return to standby after 15 seconds. Similar incidents have been reported at other nuclear facilities, including Wurtsmith and Loring Air Force bases. These events suggest an external force with the capability to monitor and even disable humanity's most destructive weapons. The motivation is not necessarily hostile, but rather a demonstration of technological superiority and a potential warning about the dangers of nuclear proliferation. And if nuclear capability enables detection or interaction with these entities, the US might seek to restrict Iran's access to such technology to maintain secrecy about alien contact. The post-World War II era has been characterized by numerous conflicts where the use of nuclear weapons was threatened but never materialized, even when supposed red lines were crossed. The recent conflict in Ukraine serves as a prime example. Russian officials repeatedly issued thinly veiled nuclear threats should NATO directly intervene or if Ukrainian forces struck certain territories in Russia. Despite Ukraine, with Western backing, crossing many of these declared red lines, including attacks on Crimea and other areas Russia considers its own, nuclear weapons have remained holstered. This consistent pattern of de-escalation from the nuclear brink, often attributed to the doctrine of mutually assured destruction, could be the sign of something bigger. Is it possible that the leaders of nuclear-armed states are aware of a third party that would intervene in the event of a nuclear exchange? The consistent lack of nuclear deployment in high-stakes conflicts, even when red lines are crossed, could be interpreted as evidence of a restraining influence beyond human control, possibly even preventing their deployment entirely. But why would these beings care what some monkeys are doing on a random planet in the universe? possibly because they share this planet with us, but are imperceivable in our everyday lives. Some theorists, including former high-level intelligence officials, have proposed that what we perceive as aliens may in fact be extra-dimensional or coexisting entities sharing our planet. According to this speculative framework, the detonation of nuclear weapons could have a disruptive effect that extends beyond our three-dimensional perception, potentially harming these other intelligences. While direct evidence for this is, by its nature, elusive, the concept has been explored by figures such as Jacques Vallée and later discussed by researchers like David Grush, who is a former National Geospatial Intelligence Agency official, during a 2023 congressional hearing where he referenced multi-dimensional phenomena. If this is true, it would provide a powerful motive for these entities to be deeply concerned with humanity's nuclear ambitions. And if aliens are extra-dimensional and affected by nuclear activity, their monitoring of nuclear sites could be a protective measure. The U.S. might restrict Iran's nuclear program to prevent them from discovering or interacting with these beings, preserving a delicate balance. The case of North Korea presents an interesting study. Prior to possessing a credible nuclear deterrent, North Korea's rhetoric against the United States was often wildly belligerent and seemingly reckless. Since achieving nuclear capability, and particularly in recent years, while still employing aggressive language, its foreign policy has arguably become more calculated and predictable. Some analysts contend that possessing nuclear weapons has given the regime in Pyongyang a sense of security that has, in a paradoxical way, made it a more rational actor on the world stage. However, it could be argued that upon entering the nuclear club, North Korea was made aware of the rules of the game regarding aliens, their rules surrounding nuclear weapons, and the true consequences of breaking such rules, leading North Korea to a more measured approach. On June 21st, 2025, the U.S. conducted airstrikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites using B-2 Spirit bombers and Tomahawk missiles. The operation, dubbed Operation Midnight Hammer, targeted uranium enrichment facilities, with Fordow being the primary focus. These strikes have been notably precise and limited in scope. The stated objective, according to a White House statement, was to set back Iran's nuclear program for many years, with a focus on destroying key infrastructure. Conspicuously absent from the official reasoning was any mention of regime change, despite long-standing calls from some political factions for such an outcome. The surgical approach avoided a full-scale conflict that could have destabilized the region and potentially led to a desperate Iranian push for nuclear weapons, once again lending credence to the possibility that the United States is trying to prevent Iran from pursuing an aggressive push towards nuclear weapons. The goal in this context would not be to topple the Iranian government, but to specifically prevent it from acquiring the one technology that would grant it access to the alien secret. The body of historical UFO incidents and, more recently, whistleblower testimonies adds another layer to this argument. In 1952, there was a very highly visible UFO incident in Washington, D.C., where UFOs were tracked on radar near the White House and Capitol during a period of nuclear tension, suggesting a link between UFO activity and high-stakes nuclear contexts. Flash forward to today, and high-level officials such as David Grush, a former intelligence officer, have come forward with claims of a multi-decade U.S. government program to retrieve and reverse engineer non-human crafts. These claims, made under oath to Congress, suggest a level of official knowledge far exceeding what has been publicly admitted. Furthermore, the recent bipartisan push for greater transparency on unidentified aerial phenomena, as evidenced by new legislation, indicates that a growing number of lawmakers believe there is a significant hidden reality that needs to be brought to light. These developments lend credence to the idea that a cover-up of profound significance is in place. Throughout history, various cultures and religions have contained narratives of powerful beings from the sky who interact with humanity, often providing guidance or warnings. While these are typically interpreted through mythological or a spiritual lens, this could have been the case due to an absence of understanding, when they were actually historical records of contact with non-human intelligence. The recurring theme of these beings being concerned with human conflict and self-destruction resonates with the idea of an external influence monitoring our nuclear capabilities. So, is this something I truly believe? While the hypothesis is that the US is trying to prevent Iran from learning the truth about alien contact by denying them nuclear weapons, it remains speculative, but it is a narrative that seems plausible, with a surprising amount of circumstantial evidence. By weaving together the threads of increased UFO sightings since 1945, the documented interest of UFOs in our nuclear arsenal, the curious lack of nuclear warfare, the provocative ideas of extra-dimensionality, and the shifting geopolitical landscape, a compelling alternative explanation for one of the most pressing international security issues of our time emerges. But let me know what you think. Were these airstrikes executed to protect against regional or geopolitical concerns, or instead intended to prevent Iran from knowing the true nature of alien life? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.